All right, well, welcome back to RSM 308, Recreational Sport Programming. Last week we were discussing different types of formats for tournaments, and we talked about some of the common ones being round robin, single elimination, double elimination. I'm going to hit on a couple other ones today, just so that you're aware of them. They're not quite as common, but it depends what type of activity and sport that you do. You'll come across these. So let's take a look at some other formats that you can use. Challenge tournaments oftentimes are ongoing. So a lot of times single elimination, round robin. We know that we're going to have this many games or this many days of the event, and it's going to be over. A lot of times challenge will run for a certain amount of time, maybe a couple months, maybe a year, usually a shorter period of time than that. And the purpose is to give everybody opportunities to play, and it's just constantly ongoing. Once a week, or the expectation is they're going to play a match or a game, and so some of the big thing is the emphasis is on participation, and we'll talk about this. The nice thing with a lot of the challenge tournaments is that you as the programmer don't have to do a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of monitoring when it comes to challenge tournaments. And here it's up to the players to issue and accept challenges from each other. So you don't have to do the scheduling. The participants do the scheduling. So in this one, we'll talk about this, but this is a ladder tournament here. And in this ladder tournament, these are the players, and right now they're seated in their different places. Traditionally, a lot of them you can go up the maximum of 2 spots. So Ted could play Marge. He could challenge Marge to a match, whatever it could be. A lot of times you'll see these in tennis and racket sports where you play singly, or you could be doubles. But so Ted might challenge Marge, and they'll have to put their heads together, come up with a date and time that they'll meet, and then they'll play their match. If Ted beats Marge, he takes her place. Marge will move back one and move Fred back to Ted's place. And it keeps going on, and Ted, ideally should be trying to work his way all the way up to where Doris is. And that's the idea, the goal of everybody is to work their way up. So throughout this tournament, there's always these challenges that are going on to move people up. And again, if you're an upper seed, you have to accept the challenge from the lower seed. If you don't, usually there's some type of penalty that's going to be enforced on you. The goal is to win matches and move up the structure. And you keep playing despite results of the challenge. So it's not like single elimination where if you lose, you're done. It's not like double elimination, lose 2 and you're done. You just keep playing. And the idea is that you keep moving up based upon winning. So you could go through a losing streak, end up at the bottom, but then work your way back up based upon if you have enough time left in the challenge. And again, a lot of times it's a little bit more flexible. It's commonly done, like I said, a lot of times in racket sports, but individual and dual sports. So ones that you compete in person versus person, or you work in pairs to compete. Tennis, racquetball, handball, pickleball, all very popular challenge tournament areas. The advantages and disadvantages. Advantages of this competition or this challenge tournament, and that example is a ladder. The advantage is that it's easily organized and programmed. You kind of set up the guidelines and the rules to start with for your particular challenge. You seed them, and then you let them go. And sometimes those seeds are actually seedings, and sometimes you just put them in order of who registered or random order and just let them go from there. And ideally, the cream should rise to the top, and the ones that aren't as good will move down to the bottom. But you don't need a whole lot of supervision. They govern themselves. All you need to do is hear who wins and move them around on the ladder and know when the matches are going to be. The nice thing is no one's eliminated, so it keeps encouraging that participation. no win-loss records are maintained. It encourages social interaction because you have to contact each other. The participants contact each other to set up the matches, and so you get to know each other there in that interaction. And no formal scheduling is needed. The participants handle it all, and so you just kind of sit back and let it roll. The disadvantages, it lacks challenge for some. So if you're a really good player, you may be above the rest of the group in the ladder. So you're just constantly being challenged, but not actually being challenged on the court. Better suited for smaller number of participants. If you get too big a group, it's not going to be as effective. But we will talk about some ways that you can get around that. May appear to be complicated and may take some people a little while to understand what they're supposed to be doing and how this actually runs. But again, it may appear to be complicated, but it becomes fairly simple as you get to participate in it. Sometimes you may need external rewards to keep it interesting, particularly if the longer it goes. Some security is required to operate the challenge board, so you don't want anybody to go in and mess with the challenge board or change anything in there. And the other disadvantages sometimes, while it encourages social interaction for the participants to contact each other, sometimes you run into issues where the challengee won't respond, and then again you run into issues there. But this is advantages and disadvantages to it. I would think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So procedures for challenge. Basically, you write down all the names and telephone numbers on cards or material, and you can fit it into slots or hang on hooks, or nowadays you can make everything available via an online resource. You might have your own Facebook page. You may have your own format where you have all the information where they can just go online, find the information, and reach out to the participant in that manner. And that some of the ways now with tracking emails and stuff, it might make it a lot easier. You can see when the challenge was issued and if the challenge was accepted in a timely manner. And again, you position the players on the tournament board. You can do it random draw. You can do it order that they sign up. You can do it by ability, the top player and maybe sometimes start with the top player at the bottom and have them work their way up, or have them start at the top. Again, if you're going to rank them on order, I'd start them at the bottom and make them work their way back up to the top. At least they feel like they have a little bit of challenge as they move. And then establish your rules, regulations before a competition, and then share it with the participants. Let me see if this works. We're going to try to go to a other website here. This was one that I found out there on the web. This is the St. Louis Chess Club, and they have their rules. Basically, it's a ladder tournament, and they have all their guidelines here. So, club is form of competition where each player is assigned a position or rank. Lower number means higher rank on the ladder, better position. The goal of the competition is move up to the top rank and be that number one. And it tells you here, player may challenge anyone. However, all challenges must be approved by the commissioner. Players must accept challenges. If they decline, they drop 5 spots. If player B challenges ranked 13 on the ladder, defeats player C, who's ranked 8 on the ladder, then B jumps to 8 and C drops to 9. So they jump 5 there, allow them to jump anywhere they want. So you can challenge anybody at any time, and you take their place if you beat them. And then they drop down. The loser drops down 1, or in that case, the top seed drops down 1. Okay, but they set up the rules, their guidelines, and what the expectations are for participation. Okay. Inactivity drops a player 1 spot. So you're not active for 1 week, you drop. So you're not playing, you're not participating, you drop. And that's where it sometimes becomes a challenge if as you lose people, then they don't participate. They're dropping down, and you'll probably have a lot of people at the end that just didn't compete, and they're all down at the bottom there. Okay, but again, you just set up your rules, and you can run off your competition based upon that. Okay. So establish your rules, regulations before the competition. Make sure you share it with your participants. They did it online. 7 principles of challenge tournaments. Use your sanction rules. Again, whatever sport you're doing, tennis, pickleball, in that case chess, use their sanction rules and then modify to the local needs as needed. So you can make adjustments based upon the needs and requirements of your community. Use challenge rules. Participants initiate their own challenge. They must be accepted and played in a certain time period. So don't allow the challenger or the challengee to delay it and not respond to the challenger. Okay. So most times you're going to see a challenge 1 level above or maybe 2. At chess, you could go up as much as you want. Again, that's their specialized rule that they have. If the challenger wins, this one exchanges position. So if you're on the bottom and you challenge, well, let's say you're the 8 seed, you challenge 7 seed, you win, you switch places. Okay. If the challenger loses, you stay the same. Okay. Winner updates the tournament board, so whoever wins will be the one that contacts the commissioner or you in charge of the league, and you'll make the adjustments to the challenge board. Sometimes you'll allow them to have access to it and do it. Again, I'd be more of a control freak, and I'd want to make sure that I knew who won, and I'm the one that's making the changes. But some will just allow the participants to do it. Challenges may not be refused and must be met in the order they're issued. So some people may be faced with multiple challenges, and so you have to take the first one first and play that one. Okay. Failure to show for any accepted challenge is a forfeit. Players keep players' positions up to date. All late entries at the lowest level. And establish a minimum and maximum number of contests that can be played during any given time. So you may say have a requirement that they play once a week, but they may not play any more than twice a week, so that you don't have somebody coming in and trying to play 5 challenges in 1 week and trying to move up 5 spots. Just 1 or 2. You just got to make sure you set up the minimum and the maximum that they can compete. A lot of times it's once a week, like we saw in the chess, but they may only compete in 3 per week or 2 per week. You just have to set that up. Before play begins, announce a definite end date. So this league is going to run from August 1st to September 30th. Okay, and at the end of September 30th, whoever's that top seed is the top one in the tournament. You might have little prizes, again, extrinsic motivation to keep them interested in going. Rank all players at the conclusion of the tournament. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. We'll come back and hit some of the different types of tournament design. We hit ladder, but we'll show you some other ways to make that ladder a little bit more exciting. So we'll pick this up here in a second.